So, congratulations for the great job you did on the movie. We're going to talk about it in a few minutes, but to begin with, could you maybe tell us a few words about where do you come from and how did you end up working in the movies?
So hi, I'm Anne. It was really not my goal to work in the movies because as a child I always wanted to be a world traveler, actually. But I think the job just came my way by working for a production company, Skyline Entertainment. I was actually hired to assist 3 producers, and one of them was Peter Simons. He taught me a lot of things. And on the go, he asked me if I would read new scripts, incoming new projects. And I was always enthusiastic and working with him together. And voila, so the story goes, yeah.
So you told me you studied tourism. There's no real school and no formation, no training to become a casting director. Do you have to learn it on set, or you have to learn it doing it, actually?
Yeah, I think there's no formation, there is no education, but it's not something that you can learn in school either, I think. It really asks the right person with the right approach. I think it's really simple. You need to love people, you need to feel people, you need to be able to read them, and yeah, I think only then you can know who's the right person for a certain part. Yeah.
So you need to feel it, you cannot learn it.
I think you need to feel it, yes.
Do you remember your first job? Could you please tell us a bit about it and tell us what did you think when you did it first? I mean, were you like, oh my God, that's what I want to do? And how did it happen?
My first job was in 2004. I was assisting or working together with Frank van Mechelen. It was for The Intruder, a movie of Skyline Entertainment. And yeah, the main part was for Koen de Bouw, and he was actually preparing just before a scene, an important scene. And I was asked to stay with him just to make sure that he was okay, and then at the right time, through the walkie, get him to the set. And I was watching him and I was reading him, like what he was thinking and how he was preparing, and that's why I fall in love with how it's all in together. Yeah.
So, how would you describe your job in a few words? If you had to say, what does a casting director does?
That's difficult in a few words. But I see it every time as a gift. Yeah, I think it's really a gift. People come in and do their thing, but they put their trust and their hopes completely in your arms. They're so vulnerable at that time. You just have to embrace it, and yeah, it's a gift. Yeah.
And you work in between the directors and the actors, so you have to answer or talk to, or be in a relationship with both the directors and the actors, and they have, I guess, sometimes different interests. How do you manage to make them meet?
It's a complete different communication. The communication with the director and with the actor, and actually the job is really multifunctional, because you have, besides casting, you need to be good with schedules. You need to check availabilities and be a therapist for a lot of times. So, yeah.
I guess you have a very special relationship with the actors and actresses, which you know from a long time and you follow them. So how would you describe your relationship with actor and actresses?
I think I'm very close with a lot of Flemish-speaking actors then, because when I hear, for example, in Paris or in London, colleagues of mine, they take like 5 or 8 minutes per person in casting, but I was like, I take like 5 minutes to say hi to someone. So, but I get it, because in Paris or in London, casting directors need to rent or pay for a studio, which costs a lot of money. So they have to see a lot of people in a short time. But I don't have that problem or that struggle. I have my own place, and I take my time. Yeah.
Could you talk about your place and your business? Because sometimes casting direction is done directly by the producers, but you're very dedicated casting directors. That's the only thing you do. So could you please talk about that? How did you come from the production house to create your own company doing only casting direction?
I have a huge example. Her name is Marianne Dougherty, and there is a great documentary about her, Casting By. You should see it. Actually, she was the first female casting director who was working in the Hollywood studios in the 1950s. And actually, she was the first one not to cast stars, but really was looking for real talent. And in that documentary, she told about a place she created, a house in New York she bought with her last money. And above her head, there was Woody Allen writing, and above his head, there was another great director creating things. And that's when I thought, I want that. I want to create a place like that, but here. So I did it, yeah.
So now that you have your company, when usually do you arrive on a project? When does the director calls you to tell you, oh, I have a new movie, could you please do the casting direction for me? Do you arrive as soon as the script begins, or when do you arrive usually?
It depends when I arrive on a project. In the case of a coming-of-age story, for example, they usually call me in advance and very early on the process, because then we have enough time to do the search properly, or in the case that we have difficult child castings, we also need to have the time to look for them. For example, what I had for the casting for It Smelt with Veerle Batens, we took like 2 years the time to look for the perfect kids, yeah. And thanks to the production company Savage Film, we could take that time. That's really important, yeah.
You also had to cast a newcomer for Dealer. Could you please tell us about how did you meet Jeroen Perceval, and what was your discussion? What did he wanted you to look for, and how did it happen?
How did it happen? I worked already on a few projects with Savage Film. It's always very nice. And when Bart called me to ask if I would do the movie of Jeroen, I said yes. And at that time, I didn't know Jeroen very well, but yeah, along the way, I get to know him. Yeah.
Jeroen is a director and an actor as well. Was it very specific to work with him? Did he have a special way to handle casting direction, or was it different to work with him because he was an actor?
Jeroen is a man of little words, and I'm a woman of a lot of words, so that was a bit special. But on the other hand, it was very nice as well, because he really knew what he wanted. Other directors have like, this person, for me it's a doubt, let's try in a second round, but he was immediately yes or no. So it was special and actually easy, yeah. His level is not here, but here, so.
when you read the script, do you already have actors in mind, or can you read the script without thinking, "Oh, I like to see this actress or this actor in this role"? How do you read scripts, and how do you talk to directors after you've read the script and you've already done your casting?
Yeah, I think I don't wait to meet the director after I read the script. No, how shall I say it? I don't wait to put my own names in the script before I meet the director. Perhaps I won't say them. I won't say my names out loud immediately because of out of respect. You want to hear what the director wants, but I always have my own lists when I read. In a first reading, I always note down in pencil what I think. Some people ask me if I open my database when I'm reading a script, but I don't. I always follow my heart and my gut feeling, I think. Yeah.
So you have everything in your head and your heart.
Yes.
I have plenty of other questions, but there may be some questions in the audience. Does someone want to ask a question? Yeah, there's a question over there. The mic is coming.
Hi. Do you always start with the lead parts and then look for supporting cast who's got some chemistry with the lead parts, or?
Yes, very often you can see the process of casting like a pyramid. Indeed, you start with your leading parts and then you go for the supporting parts. But again, while reading the first time, when a supporting role is really clear, I can have some ideas already and share them with the director. So it depends. It depends. But most of the time, certainly with coming-of-age stories or with a difficult child casting, you start with the most important part. Yeah.
For this kind of movies like Dealer, do you always have to choose the young actor first, or how did you do with Dealer? Did you first choose Sverre, who's the young actor, or how did you do?
For this movie, I think the first we didn't cast only Sverre and then continue with the others. I think there's also the question of the film distributor and the producer, if we could work with certain actors. So it is simultan.
So in parallel, you worked with the young actor and then Ben Segers as well.
You don't wait until you have someone to cast another. It's always an organic way. Yeah.
Is there another question? Yeah, here in the front.
So for aspiring actors like myself, for example, I think in an audition it's very important to know what it is that, as a casting director, you're mainly looking for. So I would want to ask you, what is the number one thing you would advise us then to really think about? Because I've heard before that knowing your lines is very important. Then I've heard from other actors that have come to do also masterclasses that, for example, being able to be flexible or taking advice or feedback and coming back 30 seconds later and doing it their way is even more important. So if I would ask you, what would you advise, or what would you think is the most important thing in an audition to do as an actress?
I think taking your time is the most important thing you can do. And don't do auditions in between two rehearsals, or when you're on the go for another appointment and you need to hurry. You need to take your time and you need to absorb really your character. And a very important tip from Judy Weston is don't judge your character. Otherwise you're lost. And she's really right. Yeah.
Thank you.
Is there another question? Yeah, just.
Hello. I also have a question from an actor's point of view. How often do you cast international talent in Belgium?
It happens, yeah. Sometimes I just get a phone call from Stockholm, Sweden, like, we're going to make a series, we want to work with you, and I say, okay. So, yeah, sometimes, I think every year I have 1 or 2 international castings.
And does that happen with Belgian productions as well? Sorry, that's 2 questions.
No, it's okay. Yes, it happens as well, but then we have like in a co-production. Okay. When there's a co-production, you need to cast over the border. Sorry, I was looking for my words.
Thanks.
I remember in De Patrick there was an English-speaking character, Jermaine Clement. Mm-hmm. Well, maybe yes. You didn't cast him, but
no, he was a friend of Tim's.
Is there another question? I have a question. I'd like to know, how did you do the casting for Sverre House? And so the young guy is a newcomer, a fresh face. How did you do? Did you street cast, or did you go to schools, or did you find him in a theater school? How did you find him?
I would say yes. Of course. At first, I started by looking for a really strong image who is really remarkable to make a casting call, and that goes on the socials. Besides that, we do the street casting, of course. And besides that, indeed, we go to, there are actors in Antwerp who give in the weekend like workshops on for children. So we search and search and search and search and search and search. And for the casting of Sverre, I think we started with a pre-selection of over 500 videos. After watching the videos, we did a selection of, I think, around 120 boys who came in the studio, and we really casted him one-on-one. After that, we came to a smaller group, but Sverre, he was casted very late in the process because we searched, and suddenly there was a golden tip from the niece of Jeroen, Nina. Yeah, she teaches drama in Antwerp, and there was an interesting boy in her class, and it appeared to be Sverre.
So finally, after street casting and call on the socials and all the stuff, we finally found him in a acting class.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah.
Is there something when you saw him that made you think that was him? I mean, just one thing when you saw it, that's him.
Yes, it was his looks, yeah, and he was very vulnerable at the time. Yeah,
he's amazing in the movie.
Yes.
Can we talk about Ben Segers, which is the other main character in the movie? I didn't know him, so I checked him on IMDb, and I saw that he had done a lot of TV and a lot of comedies, and that's very far from his part in the movie. So is it a challenge to cast someone in a role where you wouldn't expect him? And I guess that's a pleasure as well as a challenge. Could you please maybe talk about this?
I think opportunity is everything. Like, for example, for Ben, but also for Bart Hollanders in the movie, it is great to get an opportunity like this for an actor, because otherwise we couldn't have seen what they're also capable of, I think. I think for us casting directors, it's always a struggle and also a battle, because everybody can cast the stars, you know. So we always try to find or renew, what's in the, how do you say? Sorry, I lost my words.
Find fresh faces and also find new jobs and new parts for actors that you've seen somewhere else. And
that's very important, yeah. But sometimes not all directors are open-minded for ideas like that. But Jeroen was, and he worked already with Ben, so there was a click already. So, voila. And sometimes you win the battle and sometimes you lose it, but here, this was a win.
Is there another question? Not for now. You said that you don't always want to work with the stars and you want to find other actors or actresses. But then in the movie, we can find Vers le Battens in a second role. Can you talk a bit about that? The importance to have well-known actors in other roles, not only main roles, but supporting roles as well?
I think supporting roles are very often as important as the main parts, really. I think a movie really can stand or fall with that. And therefore it's really sublime that Veerle plays parts like that, really. And she did a great job, I think. Yeah.
And you told me also that you didn't always want to work with the usual suspects, and you were trying to think out of the box when doing casting. Could you please a bit elaborate about that?
Yeah, that's the thing. We always try to renew what is written, or we want to work away from the usual suspects. That's our job. But sometimes the director goes, no, sometimes you have the director on your side and he is okay with the idea, let's go for this. But then you have the struggle with the film distributor, then there is the producer. You have a lot of people who needs to be on your side when you make those choices. And sometimes you succeed in that and sometimes you don't. Yeah. But when you do, it's, oh, yes.
How do you do to find new faces? So you do street casting or casting call on the socials, but I guess you also go to theaters or to the movies. How do you feed your knowledge of actors and actresses?
I give masterclasses in schools as well. So next month I'm in Ritz, Brussels, again with Hilde Hennen. She always organizes the masterclasses, so that's how I see the new generation, which is always great, I think. And besides that, I go to the theater, indeed, yeah. Or I also ask everybody, when you have a good short movie or a link where I can see something of you, just send me, and I'll watch and I feed myself like that.
Is there another question? I think your producer has a question for you.
I'm the producer of this film and also of a couple of other films that we worked together with Ann with. And I just want to mention that I think there's 3 different kinds of casting. There's like the coming of age kind of casting, where you have to look for kids of 13 or 16 or 18 years old who is not known, who you don't know, there's nobody famous. And that's a huge search. Then there's like the casting that everybody expects in, you know, like kind of ensemble casting, where you try to get the most out of all the roles, like in the film Patrick that we did together. All the roles were mainly as important as the main role, and there Ann came out, you know, with out-of-the-box proposals from actors coming from theater, from TV, some that were known, some that were not known anymore, but everybody said, "Oh yeah, that one. We haven't seen him for a long time." And then there's the other type of casting where you need, as a producer or for the distribution of the success of the film or the media attention that the film will get, you need to get an actor that surprises the audience and the press. And like in this film, in Dealer, Ben Segers was totally like, everybody, what, Ben Segers? He can only do comedy, but then he did a great role here. Bart Hollanders, the dealer type, same thing. And yeah, that's kind of an equilibrium that Ann has to look for together with the director and with me to convince not only the distributor, but an international sales agent or TV buyers to buy the film, because it's a different kind or a surprising kind of casting. And she's great at all three levels.
I'm blushing.
You work a lot for TV and for movies. Is there a difference in casting a role for a series because maybe the actor is going to come back for another season, or is it a different job, or are there different things that you have in mind when you cast for a series and when you cast for a movie?
There is, for my job, to do my job, I take no difference. There is just one huge difference afterwards, because besides you, for the movies, besides you really need to look for the best actor for the part. You also need the camera to love the actor too, and that's a big difference in TV and in the movies, because in TV, where you have a bigger liberation in choices, you don't have it in the movies. You really need to have the camera to love your actor too, and that's hard, but it's the terrible truth. Yeah.
And how often do you work with directors when you do the casting? Because you were saying that you need to know if the camera loves the actor or not. Are the directors often with you during the casting, or how does it work?
It depends. Some directors have all the faith and decide like go and just go, and then I start on my own. But some directors like Fédération, she's very hands-on, which is great. And she was, I think we saw over 500 girls, one-on-one castings for Smelt to start with. And she was with me, I think, the first 5 days, just to make sure I wouldn't forget anything to watch, to ask on the girls. And then I did a lot of casting solo as well, but it depends, yeah. Some directors are still in post-production of another project, don't have time enough to enjoy me in the casting. It depends, yeah.
Is there another question? We've been talking before, and I'd just like to come back to something you told me, that you were, I think, 3 casting directors in Flanders. Or did I get it wrong? So that's a very small amount of professionals doing your job. Could you please maybe tell us a bit about how it works? And you also told me there were like 900 professional actors, so that's quite a small community. Could you please talk a bit about that?
Yeah, actually, it is a small community. Like you say, it's yeah, yeah. And we are, I think, we are 3 casting directors in the Flemish-speaking part of Belgium. Someone in Ghent, someone in Antwerp, and me. I'm just in between. But I think I am the only one who really lives for movies and TV series. I did a few commercials way back, but it's nothing for me. No. But I think I see it also as an advantage, the small community. You get to know the actors, and I think it's a privilege, because when I hear my colleagues in Paris or in London, where you are like lost in all actors and in colleagues and in the industry, actually, it doesn't feel that way here. I think.
There seems to be more freedom when you choose actors and actresses, because in the French-speaking part of Belgium, for example, if your movie is co-produced by friends, then you will need a French name for your co-producers and to get the money. But in Flanders, it seems that even though you have to please the international sales and everything, you have more freedom to cast actors maybe that are not that well known from the audience. How do you feel about that? Do you see that there is more freedom for you than maybe for your colleagues in France or in the French-speaking part of Belgium?
Yeah, you can call it a certain freedom, but also a certain, you have to do it with this. For example, for It's Smelt, we have 5 children, and we needed to cast an adult for each child. You can't, like in America, see like over 400 people to check if there is a match. No, we have only those 900 actors, professional actors in Flanders. So she or he has to be one of them. So the search is different. Yeah.
So it's a bit frustrating at times.
At times, yes, because it's hard, I think. But sometimes it's very clear as well. It depends. Yeah.
Is there a last question in the audience? So maybe to finish with, could you maybe tell us what do you like most about your job? Is it like meeting new faces every day, or meeting new artists, or even, I don't know, therapy? Maybe relationship with people? What do you like best about your job?
I think all of that. Yeah, it's. I think when we talk, when they enter, actors, I think the talk with me is as long as the audition, and I enjoy both. Yeah.
It's meeting new people every day and new faces.
Yeah, yeah.
Thank you very much, Anne.
Thank you.
You've all seen Dealer. The movie has been released last week. It's still screening here in the Palace. So if you liked it, do not hesitate to talk about it. That's very important for the movie. And well, thank you very much. That was very interesting. And we'll see you next month for the next masterclass. We're gonna talk about animation with Where is Anne Frank from Harry Folman, which has been co-produced in Belgium. So we'll be talking about animation next month. Thank you, Anne. See you soon.
Thank you. And spread the word.